My road was Christmas Day. All I need, my little street rider, pass the time away. Pass the time away. You sprinkle hardwood powder all around my door, all around my door. You sprinkle hardwood powder all around your daddy's door. You keep me with a rambling mind rider every old place I go, every old place I go. I can tell by when it's rising, leaves spinning on the trees, spinning on the tree. I can tell by when it's rising, leaves spinning on the tree. All I need, my little street rider, keep my company. My company. Yeah. Me and the devil. Early this morning, knocked upon my door. Early this morning, knocked upon my door. And I said, hello, Satan, I believe it's time to go. Me and the devil were walking side by side. Me and the devil were walking side by side. I'm gonna beat my woman until I get satisfied. She said you don't see why that I would dog around. My baby, you know you ain't doing me right. She said you don't see why that I would dog around. Well, it must be that old evil spirit so deep down in the ground. I don't care where you bury my body when I'm dead. You may bury my body, ooh, down by the highway wayside. So Mount Evil Spirit, take the Greyhound bus and ride. Which leaves 4 till 8, and then Terraplane or Hellhound, Terraplane again.
No, it was
One we're going to do.
It was Love in Vain.
Oh, Love in Vain, yeah. Ready? Right first time. No, wrong. Well, I followed her to the station with the suitcase in my hand. Lord, I followed her to the station, the suitcase in my hand. Lord, it's hard to tell, it's hard to tell, when all your love's in vain, all my love's in vain. When the train pulled up to the station, I looked her in the eye. When the train pulled up to the station, I looked her in the eye. I was lonesome, I felt so lonesome, I couldn't could not help but cry. All my love's in vain. And the train it left the station, 2 lights on behind. When the train had left the station, 2 lights on behind. Well, the blue light was my blue, red light was my mind. All my love's in vain. Willie Mae. Ooh, Willie Mae. Who will be your one? All my love's in vain. John Mayall was aware that Robert Jhonsonn was my main man. I mean, from the day we met, that's probably what we talked about. And it was his sort of instigation that made me do Rambling. We just went into the studio for a day, literally, and played the songs that we did on stage with a couple of songs that John had written specially for the occasion, but there was very little rehearsal. And when we got to the end of it, he said, you ought to do Rambling. And I said, well, I've never done it, you know, I knew the song from listening to it, but we did a version of that, and that was the first time I ever did a Robert Jhonsonn song.
Was that also the first time you ever sang and recorded your voice?
No, it wasn't. It was the first time I sang solo. I sang with the Yardbirds, and it was in background. I didn't really sing lead stuff too much.
How did you feel about doing lead stuff when you first did it?
I didn't think I was any. I mean, I still don't. I don't really think of myself as a singer, you know, and I have to work really hard to pitch properly.
I heard that when you recorded Rambling, like, you were like concerned about your voice.
So yeah.
There was nobody else in the studio, and it was just an overdub that you wanted to try it alone.
I think that's right. Yeah, I think they all had to go, and they had to turn all the lights out, all of that usual stuff.
And I saw you at the Hollywood Bowl the other day. You're singing in front of thousands of people. I mean, how does that happen? What is that?
Well, that's about a 30-year period of adjustment. It took a long time. I mean, from John Mayall, I went to Cream, and I went to Cream with the assumption that I was going to be the lead singer. But when the chips were down, I wasn't a singer, really. I still wasn't a singer. It took me about another 4 years to really commit to the idea that I had to start singing, and that if I was going to be free to be a musician, I needed to start singing. But then, funnily enough, in contradiction to all this, when I started playing the guitar in purely social occasions, like in a pub, like this, with an acoustic guitar, I would sing. And I wasn't really self-conscious about it, because in pubs and places like that, people ignore you anyway. If you start to sing, they'll listen for a minute, and then they're going to go on, carry on their conversation. So you can get by doing that stuff in those kind of situations without being criticized or noticed too much. It's actually easy. So in a way, I had already laid out my stall from day one. When I got into professional situations, I would shrink from it, you know. You getting there? Oh, okay, you ready? Yes. Okay. Going down to the station, catch that fast milk train I see. I'm going down to the station, catch that fast milk train I see. Got the blues about me so-and-so, and the sun's got the blues about me. I'm leaving this morning, my heart fold up and cry. Lord, I'm leaving this morning with my heart fold up and cry. Hate to leave my baby, but she treats me so unkind. I got me things, I got me things on my mind. Little girl, I got me things all on my mind. Hate to leave my baby, but she treats me so unkind.
How technically proficient was Robert Johnson?
When I first heard him, I think Keith Richards said this too, that we all thought he was being accompanied by someone. It sounded like, and it wasn't unusual in those days. You often had a piano player and a guitar player, or two guitar players. And it wasn't until later that I realized you could do it, what he does, but you have to really, I mean, I've had to work really hard in the last few days to try and do some of the things that I needed to do to play alone. And my take on Robert Johnson so far is that it needs two people to play what he plays and sing at the same time. And on top of what I'm describing, he had a completely freestyle approach to any kind of structure too, so that, you know, if it was given that it was a 12-bar structure he was working in, on some, you know, from one verse it would maybe 13 or 14. He would just extend parts or shorten them according to how he felt, or, you know, what he needed to do next. And that makes it really difficult to impersonate, because if you're going to emulate this stuff, you kind of reach a point where you think, well, shall I do an approximation, or is it necessary to really sit down and completely copy it? And I think to do that would be a life's work. I mean, seriously, would be a life's work for any musician. There's really one thing, the thing that he does, there's a style that he plays where he plays in a sort of cross tempo. And when he goes to the B section, the second part of the song, given that it's a 12-bar, he plays something underneath his voice which is sort of independent in time. And what it is say the song is B section is now. And over the top of that, he sings a line in a different time. Da 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 da. I got on in the pathway. I mean, to do those two things at the same time, and I still can't do it completely right. I can kind of get an approximation. But I mean, it's almost one of those things when you listen to it, it just sounds so relaxed. And yet when you come to try it and do it, you find out how almost virtually impossible it is. And I've had to work on this every morning and every night for the last week to try and just do one song like that. So that's pretty difficult. Ready? I got stones in my pathway, and my road seems dark at night. I got stones in my pathway, and my road seems dark at night. I have a pain in my heart that had taken my appetite. I got a burn that wish, and I have a burnt to sing. And a burn to wish, and I have a burnt to sing. I have a woman that I'm loving, oh, but she don't mean a thing. Betrayed me and overtaken both of his line. My enemy have betrayed me, have overtaken both of his line. And there's one thing certainly, I had stones all in my path. You tried to take my life and all my loving too. You laid a pathway for me. Now what are you trying to do? And I'm crying, please, please let us be friends. And if you hear me hollering in my pathway, rider, woo-hoo, won't you don't let me in. I got 3 legs to truck on. Boy, please don't block my road. Got 3 legs to truck on. Boy, please don't block my road. Been feeling the same about my rider. Lord, I'm booked and I got to go. Okay, we'll move on. Have a little break. You change guitars, yeah?
Okay, change guitars.
That's standard. Okay, let me just try this, see if it's easy. Are you ready? All set? Followed her to the station, the suitcase in my hand. Well, I followed to the station, the suitcase in my hand. Well, it's hard to tell, it's hard to tell, when all your love's in vain. All my love's in vain. When the train pulled in the station, I looked her in the eye. When the train pulled in the station, I looked her in the eye. I was long lonesome, I felt so lonesome, could not help but cry. All my love's in vain. Train left the station, two lights on behind. When the train had left the station, two lights on behind. Well, the blue light was my blue, red light was my mind. All my love's in vain. Willie Mae. Willie Mae. Will be your warm, all my love's in vain. I think that was okay. So we're done. Music.
Stephen, are we done music-wise? All right. Okay, guys, I need everybody in the music to move, get Dolly.
Incredible thing. Look how long that joint is there.
Okay, good.
Phenomenal.
What does it feel like to you when you're playing? What does it feel like when when you're going off on a riff or something?
Well, it's the closest thing to being truly in the moment I can experience, really. I think if I'm just in a social situation and we're having a meal, part of me is there, a good deal of it, maybe 75%, but part of my brain is off somewhere, thinking about what I'm going to do tomorrow, what have I got everything I need to make the journey I'm going to make, etc., etc. Did I forget something about what we were supposed to do yesterday? I mean, but doing that kind of work, especially the stuff that we're doing with just me and the acoustic, requires such concentration that I think it's as close as I get to being really in the moment. And then time just sort of stands still, and at the same time it seems to go by very quickly. It's all like a kind of road, it's like being in an accident. It's just a blur. But I love it, I love that kind of, when it feels like it's really going well, and I'm just in tune and in harmony with time. It's a great feeling.
You were talking a bit about like being in service the other day, because I'd imagine, you've been quite successful, and you don't. It's not financially necessary for you to keep playing and touring and stuff. And what is it that drives you at this point to continue?
The experience of making music really is the most professionally, and even just in an amateur way too. The joy of making music is what I was put here for, I believe, and I kind of knew right away once I'd started to kind of get it right in my teens. Once I started to experience the joy of getting a result from practice, that this was my destiny, I suppose, and I always, thank God, intuitively knew that the music was the most important part of it, that it wasn't what I could get from music, it was what I could give to it. When you asked me that question of what is it like, well, I wish people could experience what it's like to be really focused on doing something musical and have it work and be in tune and harmony, and that can only come, I believe, if I'm in service of music, if I'm serving music, rather than trying to manipulate it to my ends, you know.